Miss Allison.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Welcome, everyone. My name is Ravi Verma. I'm the program director for Stillpoint. And as we do in most Stillpoint gatherings, we're going to take a few moments in quiet. Whatever helps you get more grounded, open, listening, please take a moment to do that. I want to introduce the other two staff people who are here with us today. First, Crystal Hart. Crystal, if you'll wave. Crystal is on staff, and she is a master of many trades. She does a lot of our database stuff, our website, our communications. She's also a teacher. She runs the spiritual journey group and does some group spiritual direction work. Very grateful to have you here, Crystal. And then I want to introduce to Chris Ing, Reverend Chris Ing. Chris has been with Stillpoint for a long time. She was in the first group that graduated from Ghost Ranch 14 years. And Chris is a lawyer and then a pastor and comes with many, many, many gifts. She's also now the interim executive director for Stillpoint. So the three of us will be kind of giving you a little overview and answering questions. I'm going to invite Chris first to give a little overview of Stillpoint and a little history. Chris?
Yeah, welcome everyone. So lovely to see you all. Stillpoint has been forming spiritual directors in Southern California for 40 years and began with a group of ecumenical friends, all committed members of their different churches who lamented together the lack of an opportunity for the average seeker to explore a direct experience of the holy. And so they went to work to create a program to form deeply grounded spiritual companions. And so they wanted to create a space where people could share direct experience of God and grow in their spiritual consciousness. And Stillpoint has been forming spiritual directors, spiritual companions ever since. Then about 14, 15 years ago, Ghost Ranch in New Mexico wanted to offer a spiritual direction formation program at Ghost Ranch. And instead of creating a program themselves, they decided to outsource it to an existing program. And they did their research and they chose Stillpoint. So Stillpoint began offering our 2-year spiritual formation program in Ghost Ranch. This will be, we've done it for 13 years. We'll have our cohort 14 starts this year. So it's quite a journey, and we're so excited to continue this tradition of working at Ghost Ranch with this program. Ravi?
Thank you, Chris. How many of you, I know some of you at least, how many of you have been in spiritual direction or are in spiritual direction? Okay, so some of you are spiritual directors. Our stance is that this gift of accompanying people to go deeper in their own journeys comes from outside of ourselves. That it is a gift that's given to us, and that what we do in our program is provide a container for you and I to continue to uncover, recover, enrich that gift so that we can be of service to the world. You can't quote unquote train spiritual directors. But what we do is a container to do the best practices, but to do it in community, which is a big part of that we do this together. That our belief system, like so many others, is that each of us has that inside us already. And this is a place for it to flourish. And we learn from each other. So doing this work together is a great value for us. Another value is, that we are intentionally inclusive, that we have lay people, clergy, coaches, chaplains, and people sometimes from different traditions who come to us. While we were founded on it and are based in the Christian tradition, we are open to all kinds of different experiences. And we've had people from other religions often come to us. That's our intent, and we welcome all. You don't have to agree with the other person's viewpoint, but we ask that we respect each other in doing that. Those will tell you a little about our program. Like Chris said, we've been doing this in California, which is a commuter program. People come once a month, and then Ghost Ranch, which people come for a week at a time. And the program itself is 4 weeks spread out over about 1.5 to 2 years to do that. Each week, the first 2 weeks are really practicing the art of spiritual companionship. We are learning. It's like I like to say, we are wearing what kind of mantle would fit us as we do this work. So we expose you to different styles and different people. Second 2 weeks that continues, because it's a lifetime learning about that. It's also about supervision. What's happening to you and me as we do this work? What's coming up within us as we sit with someone? And each day, there's a theme for the day, there'll be a topic. The spiritual practices are woven throughout the program. Some themes that run through the program are spiritual practices and discernment. Those are 2 key components of this kind of work. We've also in recent years very intentionally looking at how do we include art, somatic work, and other ways that we connect to do that. So let me do a little bit of the overview too. And then it's also about a social location and how that affects who we see and how we see and what we do. Also about the connection between going inside and going outside, whether you call it contemplation and action and whatever words you use to describe that. Because whatever changes we go through are of service to the world. So we have to keep looking at what we are going to do with this. Each day has a certain topic, and there'll be some presentations with some contemplative exercises around it. And in the beginning 2 weeks, in the afternoons, we actually practice with each other. We are an experiential program. We believe that we learn most by learning from each other and doing this. So you'll be in small groups of maybe 3 with a staff person, and you'll take turns being the director, the directee, and an observer, and give feedback to each other. And almost invariably, by the end of the program, people love that process because you get to know each other deeply and form those bonds. Like Chris's group, the first group at Ghost Ranch, many of them are still meeting. They still get together. They are still in community. Just a few, I think 2 or 3 sessions ago, 3 of them came up and to Ghost Ranch to meet us and do that from the very first group. So that kind of lifelong spiritual friendships form here. And in between each week, you'll be part of a small group, which will stay the same throughout the program. And we call them wisdom circles, and there'll be a mentor, a staff person who will be with you. And there'll be time to go deeper into the topics or the books or the readings, but also any questions that come up and a way to keep that, building that community even more. We are not an academic program in that sense, but there are books to read, there are some papers to write, but the papers are more reflection for you to see how you're internalizing this work to do that. And, the topics besides, image of God and vocation and discernment and different ways we experience the divine and how our own social location affects all those things. And so each of those topics, when we deal with it, is part of it is going deeper into our own experience. And also, how do we sit with others when something like that comes up? The topics also in the later stages include archetypes and shadow and dreams and what am I missing? What topics? And on our website, we list all of them. And we also talk a lot about the practical things in the first few weeks about how do you find a new directee? What is the first meeting? We talk about boundaries. We talk about the difference in all the helping professions, whether it's coaching or sponsorship or therapy or pastoral care, pastoral counseling, the whole spectrum of those things. What's in common, what's different from those modalities to do that. Another piece for us is which we've been working on, and we do it imperfectly, is all around diversity and equity and inclusion to do that. It's and actually I am right now at the Spiritual Directors International Conference, which happens once a year. And it starts tomorrow morning. So I am in Madison, Wisconsin to do this. And the next 2 weeks, we provide supervision and supervisors so you can keep looking at what are issues that are arising in you as you sit with someone to do this kind of work. We talk a lot about different aspects of what inclusion looks like and what racism has done and how that shows up in spiritual direction, and who are we called to sit with, and what are our own ongoing work to do around these topics. So this is kind of anything else you would add, Chris, on that? Any questions? Okay.
I don't know that I would necessarily add to the topics, but that I don't think I can overstate the depth that can you get in a community when you're doing this program as a residential program as opposed to a commuter program. When you're living together for a week and you're constantly processing what's going on with each other in community, you go very deep very quickly, and the bonds form very strongly. And to do it in a place like Ghost Ranch, which is just so special, just the whole beauty of the landscape, and it adds an important element to the work that we're doing in this place many consider a thin place.
I think most people are attracted to Stillpoint's program, among other reasons, is the location of Ghost Ranch, and the landscape and the beauty. And it's a teacher on its own. Sometimes all we have to do is go out there and whatever we are processing, and we can learn so much from
and we
that.
also do. we do work with eco spirituality and eco spiritual direction. That's a small piece of it. We have a whole graduate program in that too, but the landscape is tailor made for us to be able to use that in the program as well.
And the changes in weather are such a teacher. All our plans sometimes, what we make, it starts snowing or raining, or this is high desert. Anything and often does. We were there last week, and there was one day when we had hail and flurries, and it teaches us a lot just by being there, doing that. Any questions about?
I think we're going into small groups, right?
Right. And that'll be the place if you have any questions or any more clarity, that'll give more of you a chance to ask those questions that you're considering. And then we'll come back as a large group for a closing to do that. So, Crystal?
How many minutes?
What time is it? 20 minutes?
20 minutes.
Let's start 20. And if we are not finished, we'll text you, Crystal. We need a little more time.
Okay, sounds good.
I was just I finish answering your question? Okay.
I'm sorry, we had a question in the middle of it. Scott, you were asking? Or someone, who was it asking? Yeah, Suzanne.
I think she answered. I'm fine. Thank you.
In our group, Suzanne had a question. Can you unmute her?
She has to unmute herself.
There you go.
Here we go. You got it.
Do you have to pay extra to have a spiritual director while you're in the program at Stillpoint?
That's up to you to find one and pay for that. And it's a requirement of the program.
But is it a requirement to have a spiritual director at Stillpoint?
No.
Or do you stick with your own spiritual director?
You stick with your own spiritual director. Whoever you work with best, that's up to you.
Okay.
We do not require that. It'd be through Stillpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. And Chris, we talked about the requirements of Journey and 3-Day too. Okay, you did that.
So did we.
Okay. Any?
I wanted to add, though, that if you don't have a spiritual director, we can help you find one. So
we offer a free referral service if you are looking for one.
It's unclear to me how you apply. I filled out the little form. It said, pay your $25. I paid my $25 and nothing happened. I didn't go to the next page. I don't know what that's about.
Crystal
Crystal, can you feel that?
Sure. So the next part of the process is usually speaking with Chris to determine where you will stay. Or is this the application? We have to apply next.
I'm talking about the application to the program and to do that 3-day thing.
Okay, for 3-day, if you have spoken with a faculty member.
Nobody's called, no.
So that's the next step. So this meeting was our first contact. Following this meeting is that individual conversation. Once you have that individual conversation, you'll be sent the link if you are approved for the 3-day orientation program. You'll be given the registration link and further instructions of how to, there's an application you fill out as well.
And so somebody will be calling us, or do we have to fill out something to get you to call us?
No, I'll be calling you.
Okay.
Or emailing you to set up a call.
Okay, that's fine.
How many of you think you might be interested in attending the 3-day?
I am definitely interested in that.
Okay, so Crystal, you're noting that, right?
Yeah, I'm interested in the on-site one. So
Yeah.
do I just sign up for that?
The on-site, which program?
Well,
Journey?
I guess that's what it is. Not
Are
the
you
3
talking-
day.
Journey, the 1 week program.
Or the 3-day. There's an orientation one too, Scott.
Yeah, I'm thinking I want to get a bigger exposure. So so I thought a journey thing. But then I would continue and go through the
So I think what you'd have to do, because the rooms are really tight, you should apply for the Journey program online today.
okay.
Because
And if I don't get that, then I suppose I'll talk to Chris and see if she thinks I can make it through the orientation.
it sounds like from the little you've heard, but we'd have to have a conversation with
Yeah.
all of us. Yeah.
Mhm.
It sounds like several of you are interested in the 3-day. Yeah.
But then if you
Bonnie,
do the 3-day, then after that, if you get accepted, then you go ahead and do the
you
4 weeks.
apply for the Art
the
of Spiritual Direction program. Yes. Mani, you had a question?
Yes, it's that, let's assume we've gone through one of those options and we are applying. How many letters of recommendation are you looking for? Just
One.
one? Oh, okay.
You'll have a conversation with one of the staff people and a letter of recommendation. A little bit of your background is called for in the application. Vicky,
Is there a limit on the size of each cohort?
Yeah, they're not big. There are 10 rooms at Casa, and sometimes people commute or they have some other arrangements, so we sometimes end up more, but it ends up usually being between 10 and 13 people.
and
Let me
part
go
of
back to Marnie's no, it was Scott's question again. Scott, you and I should talk about the different housing options and stuff. So right now the link is you should fill out the interest part on Journey. That will get you into the system so we can talk and get you registered for Journey.
And part of the number of people is, those of you who've been to Casa, to Ghost Ranch, there's kind of a retreat area separate from the main ranch, which is Casa del Sol, so most people stay. And depending on if there's room available, there is other housing, but you'd be separate, at least for part of the time, from the whole group. So it really is it's the rooming thing that determines, but 12 to 14 people is the maximum. It gets too large otherwise.
Sure, thank you.
How does ground transportation work getting to Ghost Ranch from Albuquerque or Santa Fe, assuming that a number of us will probably be flying in, and just needing to factor in the cost of a rental car if there's not a shuttle or carpooling?
There are a couple of ways to get there. Most people who have, once you've gone into year one, they usually carpool. They split up renting a car. There is a shuttle service. It's not from Ghost Ranch. Ghost Ranch no longer runs a shuttle service themselves. But you can take the train or a shuttle to Santa Fe, and then there is a private shuttle service that will pick you up from Santa Fe. That's another option. But we find that most people end up, we share emails and say share rides, and they end up, working together to split the rides.
And at Ghost Ranch, once you're there, to get from Casa del Sol to the dining room, we've never had an issue. People share transportation, but a lot of people walk. It's a gorgeous walk.
2 miles. It's lovely though.
Yeah. What else?
And so just to confirm for the Ghost Ranch program, if one has a lot of spiritual direction training already or experiences, then it's the 3-day orientation program online in June. And then the 2-year program after that.
Well, there's
4 weeks over the 2 years, is that right?
the Ghost Ranch 3 days in September. You can come in June if you're not available to come, if the September dates don't work for you, but that's that one is primarily people who are taking the 3-day for the California or California an online program. The only difference is that it's nice to be with people who are likely to be in your cohort. That's so we encourage people who are coming to the Ghost Ranch program to take the September 3-day.
But
Okay,
the
and that's
content,
at Ghost Ranch.
What?
And that's at Ghost Ranch.
No, that's online.
Oh, that's online too. Okay, the one in September.
Yes.
Okay.
and the content for both of them is the same. So you won't be missing any content, just the people. But we've had people who've come to one because of schedule and then,
Go to the other, right?
happens.
Yeah.
In
And what are
September.
the dates for September?
7th through the 9th.
Okay. Okay.
So if you get into the program and you do this program, is there some kind of a certification at the end of it, or?
Yeah, in the US, all formation programs, except those who are at universities where you get a degree, are all certification programs.
Okay.
To do that.
Because you mentioned something about there are some postgraduate programs that you all do.
You know
What
what
is that?
what Stillpoint started is there are so many places you can go to learn more and continue your own formation. But specifically for spiritual directors, there's no organized way to do that. So we started doing some things, like we started for spiritual directors who want to do this work in groups. But 6 or 7 years ago, we started a group spiritual direction program. So spiritual directors could be formed to do that. Then we did internal family systems, how to use that work in spiritual companionship. This last year we did for people who want to learn more and become supervisors of other spiritual directors. We offered a program. We have these ideas about, some more offerings in that. But we have to keep looking at our own capacity and, what we can do. But there is a growing need for people who want to continue their formation or renew their things like Allison was talking about. So we are looking at what that might look like in the future. Because some people did their formation work 10, 15, 20 years ago. A lot has shifted
Yes.
in that time.
And an important aspect of that is to continue to work in community. When we offered a course in supervision this past year, it was really noticeable. People who were saying, coming back, I'd forgotten how wonderful it was to be together in triads and deepening our understanding of this work. And said, I didn't think when I did my first triad back in Stillpoint those years ago that I would actually be going, I miss triads. I didn't. Here they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott.
So a question, I know that companioning is kind of a new slant on all of this, and I hear spiritual direction, spiritual coaching, spiritual companioning. I mean, even in the seminary where I'm learning right now. So are you covering like all of those different perspectives throughout this, or?
We are not spending a lot of time in the distinctions between them. What we are is providing the basic ways in which you can accompany another person on their journey.
Okay.
The skill set is the same, and people use different terms. Spiritual direction implies that you're directing someone, and it's not about that.
Okay.
Some people are more comfortable. We don't, in our setting, we haven't used spiritual coaching much. It has a whole different connotation.
Oh.
uh, for us. But we talk about that in the spectrum of helping professions, how what is similar, what is in common. But our basic thing is that you come away on how to be with someone who wants to go deeper.
Okay.
And also one thing for those of you, who've been thinking about this for a long time, best you and I can to let go of how you're going to use this. That will emerge over time. Some people use it with their families, some people use it in their communities, some people do retreats, some people do groups, some people use it in the work they're doing. It's varied in the ways an individual might use it. So to come as you can with an open, and some of you are pretty clear, where you're already using it, there it'll go. But that openness, because Spirit always surprises us, never know where it could take us. Yeah. And just for those of you, many of you seem to know in this world, it's people will ask us, so what do you do? What do you do? Spiritual companionship is not well known. Spiritual direction is not, for good reasons, it's always been on the margins. And I think that's a big value of this, it's, like Greg Boyle says, that the margins become the center then, but come from that outside lens, it's the path less traveled, if you will, But I can't tell you the privilege it is to do this work. It is, it feeds me every time I do it. I get so much, it's like a mutual witnessing. We are both enriched by it. And there is a power dynamic, and we talk about all that. It's true. And we get a lot from it.
Yeah, in my seminary program, I always say, I don't want to do sermons and I don't want to do weddings. And they'll say, you'll be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are also, many of us, really involved with Spiritual Directors International, and we work with other formation programs and learn from each other. And yeah. Any questions? Yeah, Marty.
I just wonder, I wonder, Chris, if we could set up a time that you could call sooner rather than later. I'm very eager, but and I understand there's only one spot in August, and I would be coming from Iceland to you. I just don't know whether I can make that work, and it's not at all clear to me. Well, my background is just different. So could we talk or email me?
Yes, I can email you and we'll set up a time to talk.
Great, thank you.
Any other? I want to respect our time too. We said an hour. Whenever I am with a group of people like this, I get so excited. I want to get to know you more. So as we leave, if you're comfortable, just raising hands and bless all who've showed up here, no matter where Spirit guides you, takes you. We bless each other and pray for each other that what is truest in us, what needs to be fed, what way we need to be of service, we will be shown that way. And may we find companions who will accompany us, guide us, strengthen us, feed us, and may we do the same. We ask them in the many names of the divine. Amen.
Amen.
And please, you have our emails. If there are questions that come up, please feel free. We'd love to see more of you. Do that.